Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Yeah, so as you guys just saw in that trailer, we have some exciting news today. We finally have our Steam launch date.
Woo!
Yeah, we're coming out on Steam on June 21st. Really, really exciting. Who do we have in chat here? We have Hey Dragon King, Hey Louise, Hey Patchy Perfect, Hunter, Nerdy TB, Jared, Praetorian, Owen, Hunter. Hello, hello, everybody. Well, some introductions first. I'm Madeline, or Maddie. I'm the community manager here at Brace Yourself Games, and I am joined by Jared, who is our community intern. You want to say hi,
Hello.
Jared? Hello.
Yeah,
And
hello,
also
everyone.
Andy, who's our lead designer.
Hello.
Hello. Well, we got Danny B in chat too, our musician. Shiver Warp, hello. Mr. Fondue. Yeah, we're all really excited. I have been a bundle of nerves all morning for this announcement, but the news is finally out there, so really excited. So yeah, we're just gonna play a little bit of Industries of Titan today for you. For anyone who hasn't seen it, just feel free to ask any questions. We're an open book, and we are just really excited to share this with you all. So, without further ado, oh, Hunter, you're Nintendo dude. Hello. All right, we're gonna start a new game. And we're just gonna do standard. But yeah, Andy, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We're like, 4 weeks away, and this project started, almost like about 4 years ago, but it doesn't feel like that at all. The time that we've been on it has flown by so quickly for me personally that that it's kind of surprising that we're at this point. And we're still not done. Like we're going to be coming into we're going to be entering Steam on early access because we have so much more that we want to do. And I'm excited for that. Like, I don't really think about the time that we spent in the last 4 years. I think more about the time that we will be spending in the future because we have so much that we want to get to.
Yeah, Oz says Necrodancer is the best game of all time. Thank you. And Dragon King says they're excited for the new faction. Yeah, that's exciting too.
That's just one of just one of the things that Andy's talking about that want to add to the game.
Oh my god, the game loads so fast now. I'm not prepared for it. I'm like, whoa, it's ready. You know what? Let's watch this. It's a special day. Shiver's got the Danny B emote.
The council is glad to see you. You have significant investments riding on your success. I hope you'll live up to our...
Yeah, this game has come a long way. My first day at BYG actually was like the day we launched on Epic, and so it's been like just outstanding to see how much this game has come since the early access launch. So
And Steam chat, we do see you. So if you're watching on Steam and you want to drop any questions for Andy or Maddie or myself, just leave those there.
Welcome, Founder. My name is Shiaro Hess, and I am your corporation monitor. Every founder on Titan is assigned a monitor like me.
we'll go at 2 speed.
I make sure you treat Titan with respect. It is the council's property, after all.
Maddie, maybe you could talk about what you're doing, since if in case there's people who are new to Titan.
Let's begin by testing
Sure.
capabilities, Founder.
Gonna let the
Try to move your surveillance.
advisors do their thing first, though. I can skip the basic tutorial stuff.
Now, let's test your camera camera's rotation and zoom function.
So the premise of Industries of Titan is you are the founder of a new city corporation, and the council, this mysterious council, hi Albinor, has given you a headquarters amidst all these ruins of some ancient mysterious civilization. And it's your job to basically explore these ruins and make everything you can from the resources around you and make a thriving city. And there's a lot of different things that we can do for that, which I will show you. But first we need resources, so that's what I'm doing. So I had my little workers who you saw walking away from the port from here. You could see one of them standing right there. They surveyed this, and now I can get them to get me some of this stuff.
In the when we were earlier, people were talking about kind of like the other factions and looking forward to them. I actually haven't talked about that recently. It's something that we've alluded to for, ever since the Steam launch. So right now, what will be the playable faction when you go into when you hit Steam, it will be the Landfallers, and that's so what that kind of represents is like this collection of startup companies or like startup corporations, these kind of like aspiring individuals who think that they can work with the council to create a new profitable business. And with that comes with like several advisors that are intended to help you. And for example, like kind of meeting your advisors now during the tutorial. But with the other factions, they have similar sort of capitalist objectives, right? But the things that define them, like their culture, will be very different. And the one that we have in mind for the first faction is relating to an aspect of Titan's lore that we haven't talked about yet, and so that's why we're kind of keeping a secret about it. It'll make a lot of sense. It'll make a lot of sense once the faction comes out and we start describing why the world acts the way it does. And so it'll have some sort of like aspect. It'll have some sort of like changes to the core gameplay, and it'll make you kind of have to think about how you pursue city building. But really, I think the thing that is exciting to me about factions is this idea that like there's other different types of people on Titan that have lived completely different lives. So for example, known factions that we have right now that are not playable are when you contact the spaceport, you meet an individual who is a fleeter, and fleeters are people who live in 0G. I know the history of them, but I want to kind of leave that to be revealed in the game once we start releasing more of like the lore in the game. But he talks about how he can only live in 0G, and if you're really keen on sort of like the small details of what he's talking about, kind of explains. It gives you an example of how fleeters are different from landfallers, and that'll be kind of the sort of thing that you can look forward to with future like factions and world building.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Is it this Titan Tuesday coming up that we're releasing a bunch more like VO as well for the advisors?
Yes. So we have two types of tutorial. So the tutorial that you're going through now is the standard, kind of like we internally call it, like the standard tutorial. It has like a quest objective on the top right, and an advisor will explain to you kind of why you need to follow that tutorial. I highly recommend that people do this if they haven't played the game before. While the game does have a lot of things that you could intuit if you've played city builders before, it still has aspects of gameplay that are very, very unique to the game. I guess it's like a gameplay spoiler, but like one of them is just how we handle resources in general, or how you acquire resources. I don't think there's many other city builders where you like get resources. Well, where you can like upgrade your resources. It's not really crafting. Like you don't combine A and B to get C. You're like literally upgrading it as you would if it was an RPG, and you're like making your sword, you know, from a +1 to like a +2 sword kind of thing to do more DPS. So when some of the things that I've noticed for players who skip the tutorial is they start wondering why their economy is really inefficient, and it's because they're missing some of these like these differences that we've put into Titan's gameplay that you're not going to get if you don't take the time to learn the game. So the linear tutorial will teach you the basics, and then the second so that was updated last Titan Tuesday with VO, except for one of our VAs was unavailable to record last month, and so we're hoping to get that in before Steam launch. But then this Titan Tuesday, we're focusing heavily on the second type of tutorial, which is much more dynamic. So this is utilizing the advisor system in what we call like the dynamic tutorial. So the idea is that the game has at any given moment like various states that the game is aware of. Like, you know, it knows like if you're running low on power, or if you have no fuel, or if you have a building without workers assigned to it, etc. Like the game can scan the various things that could go wrong with your city, and then based off of sort of a system that we've prioritized in the background, it'll decide to give you a specific tip to help you out of a situation. So we've used our feedback through the last year of early access to kind of get a sense for what really blocks players, and like a really common one would just be like if you don't know how to connect.
Sorry,
like
I should have turned the tutorial off. I'm like trying to go through it.
You don't have to. Well, you can actually hit pause it and then disable the tutorial.
That's
like
a good idea.
You can go to the settings.
Gameplay?
Yeah, income tutorial, and then
Oh, here we go.
you can disable it.
We're gonna disable it for now. I thought it would be fun to show, but then I was like, wait, we're gonna be doing a lot of talking today, and then it's just talking over people. And I'm just picturing myself just like, yeah, whatever. I got it. I got this. Anyways, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so so if it's like I try to design the advisor system to use the same sort of logic that I would use if I was trying to help somebody try to play the game. Because like maybe right now I might say, oh, you know, you're low on storage or something. You're not actually, but if I was looking at that notes and I noticed that, then I would know, the advisors would notice that, and then they would say, hey, you should build more storage containers because you're not going to be able to actually put away your resources and use them without this. So yeah, so there's the quantity of tips in the dynamic tutorial is like 3 to 4 times the amount of tutorial as the linear tutorial, I think. So I hope, and there's even subtle details that we have no other way to explain that we do in the dynamic tutorial. So for example, the linear tutorial doesn't tell you about the fact that when you destroy rocks, you use explosives that generate pollution, and that's so we can keep the linear tutorial as concise as possible. And so in the advisors, it might be one of the things that they tell you when you call them.
And we've got a few more questions here. One is from Tim. He says, could you talk about or show more about the UI of the game? They like building buildings view. They said the biggest turnoff for them in city building games is a lack of neat and user-friendly UI, and they like Frostpunk's UI and hope IoT will take something similar as inspiration.
Yeah, I agree. I really respect Frostpunk's UI a lot. I think one of the things that Frostpunk did really well, like really beautifully with their UI, is they kind of like the art that they did for it is like integrated into the world in a way. So like when it gets really cold, their UI freezes over and whatnot. What the approach that we took for our UI is because it's like is that we knew that our game was going to have, like, in terms of just sheer quantity, like a massive amount of information on the screen at a time, and there wasn't really a lot we could do to kind of get away with that. We've made some design choices to try to optimize for that. So like, if you've played like a farming type city builder, like a medieval city builder, you might be familiar with like the game trying to track things like brick, wool, clay, copper, all these kind of things, and that could be like on the top of whether you're tracking resources, it could be like 8 resources wide. And one thing that we've tried to be really conscious of when designing resources for Titan is making sure that each resource had a very specific system, like a very, very specific point. So on ours right now, we have, on the spendable resources, we have 4. So the credits is like a digital currency, and you generate that in a very specific system. It's like related to a very specific system using your citizens and their work day-night schedule and whatnot. To the right of that, you have the minerals and the isotopes, which are the 2 resources that you find in the world that are spent for like smaller construction objects and larger construction objects, respectively. More specifically, the isotopes are more for buildings, and the minerals are more for devices. And then finally, you have waste, which is like a byproduct of salvaging the world. And so we try to keep that kind of dense to just keep the UI at a minimum. But even then, we still have so much more things that kind of in the pipeline that we know that this is just going to continue to grow.
There's a lot of information to share. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that it was going to ever really be like, basically we didn't opt for like a high art design for the UI. We rather went for minimalistic and like high information design, because we needed to like make sure that the ability to iterate on the UI was quick, and also that the information that was conveyed was as clean as possible.
Yeah.
And there's no way getting around the fact that we're going to have a lot of information, because we're trying to be a heavy systems game, even though we're keeping it really low, or doing our best to keep the density of it low. One of the things that we have in the pipeline that I'm excited about, but it will be for after Steam, is our device list is something that we're going to keep adding devices to over time. We've even gotten to the point where like you have to scroll down to see everything, even if you're on a large monitor. And so we have a design in the works that will kind of make it more visual and more condensed, using like thumbnails and whatnot. So we're as the game kind of gets larger, we kind of improve how it all fits together and so forth.
Would anyone like to be an employee? I'm making Danny an employee.
Just like
Okay.
real life, Danny's an employee.
Just like real life.
We got another question here, a quick one from Bjorn. Is there a way to migrate the game from Epic to Steam?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you might technically be able to migrate the save file over. And we actually looked into a way to see if we could migrate the ownership over. But there was actually some technical challenges related to that, like ways that made it impossible unless we had like a way of verifying accounts on our own server. I don't want to get too much into the details, because I don't want to misquote what was blocking us on that. But we actually did look into trying to find a way to help people migrate their game over, and we were not able to actually achieve that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I do think you can take your save over.
Just want 4 people, please. That's it. I guess I should get started on the processors. I'm gonna keep this factory as a there's a temporary living quarters. But I'll get started on the processors. Too bad, Danny. It's already happened. What's the pay like for employees? I mean, good enough, right?
I mean, you can mouse over the credits at the top and it'll tell you what your salary is.
Yeah. I mean, all it costs you is losing your soul and mind for a while, you know? That's it.
And an artifact. Which
And an artifact. Well, it costs me that. It doesn't cost them that.
Yeah, so you have like a starting balance at 4,000 credits, and then every day is like a pay cycle. You have to pay your employees a certain amount. As you get more employees, that expected salary will increase. So you need to make sure you sustain a good citizen population that are watching ads at the monetization stations, so that you can make sure you pay your workers on time.
I couldn't click on the employees in time. Let's see, is there anyone in here?
We've got another question from Hunter. The 20% discount might help ease the pain of not being able to transfer ownership. And what is the price with the discount? And will the price increase during/after early access period?
Oh, go ahead.
The game is currently, I think, $29.99 USD. We don't currently have any plans to raise the price, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it is normal or pretty common these days for some games to increase their price during the early access period, and I can see why that's understandable. Currently, yeah, and as Maddie said, we don't have plans for that currently. And I think that I did see this question. Where was it? Oh, it's not in the Twitch chat. We're showing the chat on Steam, huh?
Hmm?
Oh, I was wondering like if the chat that's being streamed right now is the Twitch chat or is it the Steam chat?
It's
there's
Twitch
and YouTube, yeah.
Oh, YouTube, got it.
Yeah. I think it has little differing icons, if I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. My screen's like all split up into like all over the place so that I can keep an eye on all of the viewers' questions.
I know. Me too. There's like chat windows everywhere. Chat window for you. Chat window for you. Hello, EE. How's it going? Nerdy TB says, typically in resource management games, waste, especially if it's radioactive, tends to be a bit of a hurdle. However, I do know that fighting between factions does occur. Will you be able to militarize waste against other factions?
Okay, so waste is definitely by design intended to be like something to challenge you. It's not going to be a fun time. But I would say one of the things about waste for our game is it's like core to the theme of Titan, and one of the things that we want to do going forward after we've launched in like future updates is really give players options on how to deal with waste. So right now you have two options. You can just store it and hide it away. So like you can build factories and put storage containers there and just put your waste in there and never have to worry about it. Or you can try burning it in your smokestacks, and that will generate pollution, which could have health effects on your citizens and whatnot. So in the future, we've talked about having it so that if you didn't want to burn your waste, you could do things like dump it into the ocean or like throw it down the crevices. Each of those would have different types of consequences. So right now, when you burn it and it generates the pollution kind of spreads throughout the air. That will cause your citizens' health to lower, and so you can build like a fan building that blows the pollution away from your citizens, and that'll keep them safe and then like keep the pollution elsewhere. And so we sort of have this like we sort of treat waste as like it's this resource that you have options to like juggle, and it's not necessarily there to like the hope is that it's not too much of a pain, but it's definitely going to be something that you have to struggle with a little bit.
I definitely struggle with it a lot. I'm already almost maxed out here. I'm definitely on board, stuff it under your bed and never look at it again. But I know a lot of people like the smokestacks a lot. I think I was watching one of our mods play the other day, and he likes to zone his areas, so there'll be like a smoke zone and a residential zone, a power zone, and I looked at his smokestacks and it was just pure white, 100% pollution on the overlay, just instant death zone. Crazy. Also the waste carpet. Yep. If you can't hide it, just turn it into furniture, right?
Yeah, and you have like trucks as options to move waste around more quickly too if it's getting in your way. Let's see, and then also Nerdy TB is asking about factions fighting between factions. So one of the more recent updates we did, I think it was in March or February, is we added Rebel AI. So originally when we launched Titan, rebels kind of like spawned off map and then they came in and attacked you, and that's a system that's kind of like, it works based off of, it like evaluates your game state and it like generates like a difficulty based off how well you're doing. But the right now with the AI, it's that once we did that AI patch in like February, the camps themselves that are on the map will grow over time as well and start spreading and like destroying ruins and building more defenses and whatnot. And so that we view that as like sort of the beginnings of what we're trying to explore for the future, which is once there are rival corporations, like other landfaller corporations, they will compete against you. But I think it's important to note, like, because they are also landfaller, they're not necessarily your enemies as the rebels are. They're rivals in that they are sort of competing with you on the same playing field, and they work with the council. So you can't actually immediately attack your rivals, but you can't because they both work for the council. But what you can do is you can pay a war bond to the council, which the council will then authorize combat between you and another corporation, as long as you pay enough credits to them.
I think I'm just gonna have to build more habitat pods because I just haven't been getting any force. No war crimes, gotcha. Yeah, just crimes against humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can attack the other factions. You just have to make sure you pay the council enough money.
Money. I need more resources too. Let's see. What do these got for me?
Bjorn says, thanks for the answer. We answered their question about the transferring from Epic to Steam. And they also say that their writing English is not really good, and they still don't fully understand the 3 different types of resources, and they always use auto. But they like the game a lot.
So good news is we are working on some localizations. We'll have some news ready on that soon, but we definitely want Industries of Titan to be accessible to, more than just English speakers.
Yeah, for sure. I think we could probably talk about the number of languages we're supporting. I don't want to misquote, but I think we're doing like 12 or something like that. I don't have the exact
know the exact number off the top of my head either. And we're not going to release them all at once. It'll be more of a rolling process because we do want to make sure that we get it right. So we do have people who are going to be QA testing it for us. who are native speakers. But that said, this is definitely an ongoing process, and so if you do get your hands on a localized version and you do find that there are errors in the translation, please just reach out to us. We want to make sure it's right, so we'll update it as soon as we can. That said, localization, not yet. Soon. Coming soon.
Yeah, and it is important to us
I
to
should know
have
that.
your feedback on localization. I mean, there's only so much, like as people who don't speak all these languages, we can do our best, but we really want to take the feedback in from the community who it's really important to. So there is a button in the top right corner where you can report a bug, and I think we're building it into the game where you can check that you have localization feedback, and you can like mark that and say, hey, and it'll send a screenshot of what you're looking at, and so it'll, you can say like, this particular line is inaccurate or whatever in this language, and then that'll pass it along to us.
So in short, when the localized versions are available, send the information and feedback about whether they seem right. We hope we're definitely doing everything we can to get them right, but as always, there's probably going to be at least a few things here and there. So yeah, we want to hear that. You got a nice message from Bodain Chungus.
Nice.
Sorry if
The Chungus.
Yeah. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but they say, just wanted to compliment Industries of Titan on the art direction. Super beautiful game. Every time I see a photo or a GIF of it on Twitter, I have to stop scrolling and stare for a while. And Korasame says same.
Same, actually. Sir Karma is our art director, and he's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Sir Karma on Twitter.
On Twitter.
It's like SIR_CARMA.
Hmm.
Is Antoine. He works at BYG.
Yeah, a really, really striking style, not like other city builders, and yeah, just Antoine's voxel art in general is fantastic. Hunter on YouTube says same as well. Thank you on behalf of Antoine.
Thanks, Restream.
I'll clip that and then send it to him. Okay. Yes, so Bjorn says their question wasn't about the language in the game, and they were just saying that it's
okay.
hard for them to write questions. They ask, what do level 3 isotopes do? Is it more efficient in building? Do employees carry more in one run? They hope that we understand the question.
Yeah. Let's do a quick rundown here. So the way that the different tiers work is you basically get more in a single unit. So one tier 1 mineral costs just 1 construction unit. When you upgrade it to tier 2, you increase that value to 5. So 1 tier 2 mineral is equal to 5 construction units. And then when you upgrade to a tier 3 mineral, that becomes 25. So 1 tier 3 mineral is worth 25 tier 1 minerals, which does make it a lot faster for employees to carry things over. So instead of making 25 trips with tier 1 minerals, you can make 1 trip with a tier 3 for 25 units, So on top of just like creating wealth out of basically nothing, it does really speed up the efficiency of your workers building things. Because like most of these buildings cost 200 mineral construction units now. So you could do that 200 times, or you could do it 8 times. So that's really up to you and how sadistic you are towards your workers. But if you're going for pure efficiency, you definitely want to be upgrading those minerals. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you need me to clarify anything. Hunter says, when's the next music preview release? Will there be an early access soundtrack available for purchase on Steam? The answer is yes. There will be an early access music album or OST. It's called Under Construction. It's actually currently available on Epic right now too, but I think you can find it on Steam right now and wishlist it. It's gonna be really neat. It's gonna be updated with the tracks as they come out, and then we'll also have another album once the full game is out. That's like the full final album. So this one you get to have like the in progress songs, and you can just keep those, and then we'll have the full songs, the final versions of the songs as they come out later on. How did System Chalk do this? I forgot.
If you don't already follow System Chalk on Twitch, we recommend if you want to learn how to make the most efficient factories.
This is a good question from NerdyTB about the single player content in the game. So they're asking if there's going to be a campaign with individual scenarios or a skirmish mode, or like in the case of the latter, what kind of victory conditions can we expect? So the structure of the game is modeled more after like the single player content of the game is modeled more after games like Civ or Stellaris or RimWorld, where you kind of generate a world for you to play in, and you kind of like play in that environment for many hours, and in that sense, the way you can customize your game currently with like the types of locations which affect your map generation, and then in the future you'll be able to decide like the kind of rival corporations that you'll go up against and like how many, and also currently you can like modify your difficulty as well. So there's sort of like four ways to play right now, but there's like for the most part you play in this like standard skirmish type mode. There is like a rebel free mode called Zen mode, a leaderboard mode called time contract mode, where like you have like 14 Titan days to set the highest net worth, and then your game ends, and then that's posted to a leaderboard. And then there's like a survival mode where you're just attacked in increasingly more difficult ways over time until you lose. But the standard mode for the most part is how you're intended to play the game. And with the standard mode, the victory condition we currently have is to eliminate all the rebel camps on the map. And the reason for that is because we don't have rival corporation AI in the game yet. That's currently being developed. Once the rival corporation is in, then we'll have different victory conditions. Like you obviously can eliminate them through military, or you can sort of defeat them through other means. One of the methods that we've been talking about, and I'm sort of trying to make sure I'm not revealing too much of the surprise here, but like the influence is, or sorry, the council is very like prominent force in the Titans world and Titans lore. They were one of the original founders of Titan, and they kind of like are able to decide who wins and who loses in this game. And so we've currently have some stuff in the works that's related to how you might be able to win through them instead. And so as early access goes on, we want to add more ways to win, more different types of ways to win. And one of the things that we've been thinking about is there's some games that have multiple victory paths where like you kind of like go all in on one path, or one path is more fun than the other. And those are the kind of things that we want to be conscious about as well. It's like make sure that if you are heading like a military route or a domination route, that you don't feel like you are unable to pivot to an economic route or something like that. And the way we or if a person is sort of like way ahead in one path, that you have ways of stopping them or beating them through an alternative route. We kind of want to make sure that we can address those issues too.
Yeah, I guess you can kind of compare it to Civ 5's paths to victory.
Yeah, precisely.
I've only been able to afford one citizen so far.
We don't know how many victory conditions that we want to have or that we will get to. But it's definitely one of those things where like as early access goes on, we'll have more of an idea of which ones we want to add, and we want to make sure they have like unique playstyles and interesting themes and stuff.
Hunter mentioned. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can go, Andy.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to reiterate that like for now, on Steam Early Access, it's a military route. But there are two ways that you can go about the military, which is interesting. So if you do the shipyard method, what that means is you're creating like combat vehicles or combat vessels and trying to blow up the rebels by like completely eliminating them through military power. The other way you can defeat the rebels is through annexation. So right now, like all the land technically belongs to the council, and you purchase it from them through influence, or you claim it from them from influence. And the rebels have stolen that land from the council, and you're trying to take it back. And the way you take it back is you like expand your territory through command centers, so that it overlaps rebel territory, and then you can claim it from them and then dismantle their it's like colonialization. You like take the land from them and remove their buildings and stuff. So there's the two ways of doing it that way.
Okay, I'm gonna try to make my way over to these crevices so I can build a fuel turbine there and start getting my energy production going.
We've got a question. Is it possible to translate the game into Spanish?
Yeah, definitely it's possible. It is one of the languages we have been looking at. We don't want to make any promises on languages in case like there's something wrong with the translation and we can't get it out in like a reasonable amount of time. But Spanish is one of the ones that we have been looking at. Okay, so
Andy, I was wondering.
Oh, sorry,
okay,
go.
You can go, Maddie.
I was just talking to myself.
Okay. Andy, I was wondering, what would you consider the different styles of play that one could go about?
Let's see. Well, so one of the first things that you're introduced into is the fact that our factory buildings have interiors, and sort of like buildings have kind of like larger, or buildings serve similar functions. And so if you wanted to, you could kind of like build mostly factories and then use devices within those to replicate buildings. What this would do is give you more fine-tuned control over like your specific inputs and outputs. So when you build a power building right now, I think it generates like 32 power. It's a huge amount. And if you didn't want to over-generate as much or produce too much power, because power requires a lot of fuel, you could go the building route and like make sure that it's just exactly the amount you need. Same with habitat pods and whatnot. Like if you build a population, or I was gonna call it population center. If you build like a residential building, it's going to give you a lot of like vacancy space or like vacant living space, and that's kind of a waste of resources unless you plan to fill it up. So I think like I think when we launched in early access, there were some players who were like, oh, why would I ever build buildings? And that makes sense because I think from their mindset, they're thinking about like that specific type of min-max efficiency. On the other hand, building buildings has its own benefits. So buildings kind of like, they're much better for like macro growth and like because you have like these larger values, but they also present some smaller benefits that might not matter to some people. So for example, the residential building has an attribute called pollution resistance, and so if you wanted to make sure that your residents were more resilient to the health damage effects of pollution, you would put them into residential buildings rather than habitat pods. Also, there are a couple buildings that have like functions that factories cannot do, like burning waste and whatnot. So I think there's like a factory type of gameplay and there's like a city building type of gameplay, and though both of those require a different approach to your resources. So if you were going factories, that's a very low isotope, high mineral in terms of expense, and if you're going buildings. Okay, well, I guess I have to break down buildings into two different categories. So if you're going like kind of wide, so by I say wide, I mean like lots of building quantity, then that is high mineral as well, with sort of like medium isotope cost. If you're going tall, which is a term that they use in like Civ, and what it would mean for Titan is you upgrade and connect your buildings a lot. So most of the buildings have the option to like upgrade into like level 2 and level 3, which have like even better benefits. If you decide to go that route, then that's very high on the isotope cost. In fact, it costs so many isotopes that it would be unaffordable unless you did processing. So processing is like the other thing you could do. So yeah, it's kind of weird. So processing is like you could in theory, if you're really patient, mine a lot of resources and like explore out to the resource nodes and use mines to get resources that way. But then the way the factory gameplay is like is that you are doing what Maddie's showing here, is that you're taking your low level resources and upgrading them to high level resources so they're more valuable. And that would mean that you're getting the most out of your kind of like existing resources rather than trying to explore and get resources out in the real world. Some people do both. A lot of people do both. They kind of just get all the resources and upgrade them all. I've seen people with like 25,000 construction units because they did both. But they're also playing on maps that have tons of resources. So yeah, so that's kind of like the city building and the economic approaches. But then, like I said, you have from a defensive perspective, you have the shipbuilding versus the turret approach. So there's like a defensive turret building. The defensive turret building is very, very expensive in terms of isotopes and minerals, especially if you plan to upgrade it. And it's not very mobile, obviously. And so it's kind of complicated too because it doesn't really cover like a perfect circle. It doesn't cover a circle. It covers a donut. So you have to like cover your blind spots. It also requires a ton of power. So you have to make sure your like power output's great for it. What some people do is they like power off their turrets when they don't need them and power them on when they do need them. But then if you do it that way, you have to make sure you have a lot of batteries to make sure your turrets are online long enough to actually defeat the rebels before. Because if you run out of power during combat, you're screwed. So the other way that I think is my approach is it's a bit deeper. So it's like you build a shipyard and then you have to create custom vehicles or custom combat ships. Each of those contain their like internal ecosystem of devices. But if you manage to launch a sustainable ship, then you can engage in combat in the rebels in a way that I think is more efficient. So rather than having to blow them out of the sky, you can just like target their workers and then make the ship derelict that way, or destroy like their energy systems and it'll power off their weapons, so you don't have to worry about completely destroying them. And then in the future, we want to add other ways of getting ships. So like, let's say you like ship combat, but you don't want to go through the all of the paths to just construct your own ship. Is one of the earlier ways we want to add acquiring a ship is by paying influence to the council, and they'll lend you a council ship. One of the downsides of the council ship is it's not going to be tailored to your taste. It's going to be authored by how the council sees fit, and it's going to be very influence expensive. So if you want to go council support way, you'll need to build monuments, and monuments are a way of generating a lot of influence more quickly, or increasing the way you generate influence. But the downside of that is the council requires a lot of power, and once again, you're back in the situation where you have to generate a lot of power to sustain it.
I struggle so much. Hi Dash! Thanks for the raid. Welcome. Dash is one of our regular necrodancers. Please build this. I need one isotope. One. Okay, I have that.
Okay, we've got some hellos to say to chat.
Hello,
And
hello.
Also, yeah, we've got a goodbye to Bjorn, who said he's off to
Goodbye,
bed.
Bjorn.
Yeah, we got Nick in here. Nick has been doing so many great things to make a lot of parts of the game look great. We've got Matt. It's keeping the things running, the production running.
Oh, I'm struggling so much with power.
We've got Bringing the Revolution, who says, ooh, shiny. And Jacksker, hello. And also the people from the raid, Kylaria, and System Chalk.
I feel so accomplished right now because I did something that System Chalk didn't know about, so. Fuel silos. Oh yeah, the fuel silos inside the rebel buildings. I think I was watching our mod Mr. Quinn. He did that too. You just like construct the fuel silos and explode it. We tried doing it where you could like, if you spam click upgrade, you could get it to upgrade before the rebels would just automatically attack it. Then they're they're invincible when they're upgrading. So we got it to like a level 3 fuel tank, expecting there to be a big explosion, but it wasn't a big explosion yet. Maybe later. It was a fun strat though. It was good time.
Yeah, you pointed out that currently, because of some technical challenges, the buildings that are being upgraded are invincible, but that will be resolved in the future. So you can be able to attack buildings that are being upgraded. Also, the fuel tanks exploding was like twice as strong as it is now, and I had to nerf it back because there were some players who were suffering greatly from the collateral damage of it. But one of the things that I think would be more fun or more interesting is trying to make it so that the explosive damage is related to how much fuel it has. Because right now it kind of just explodes heavily based off of the fact that it's a fuel tank, rather than saying like you have 75% of the fuel capacity, so it should do this much versus 100%. And also ships need to have that behavior as well, because then in theory what you could do is you could create a ship that is just a bunch of fuel tanks on it, and then fly it over the rebels and blow it up.
Quick question, do I need to leave corridors in my room setups for workers to clear garbage? And if not, is that something you might change in the future? From RC Psych?
The workers
I'm pretty
will
sure I butchered that.
The workers will always, once they get assigned the job, go and pick up the resources or the waste off the floor. And it's just, a matter of prioritization. I don't know if there's... Oh, I see what you mean. So when waste is generated in an interior view, it picks the nearest adjacent tile to plop it into. And if there is no more space for it to plop it into, then the device can no longer function. And so if you were to fill a factory floor with every single tile of a factory floor, you're actually slowly you're effectively reducing the amount of waste capacity that you have on that factory floor. And so if your goal is to kind of like be able to freely litter a bit, you might want to leave some vacancy so that the devices can drop stuff, at least long enough that workers can come and clean it up after them.
I'm gonna need to build some storage. See. I forgot I was gonna name one Shiver. If anyone else would like to be an employee, please say so. Okay, I literally bought 2 of these. Please build this thing. Ooh, well, it's gonna be a very happy birthday to you, Albanor. I think I'm gonna just cancel and then building. Wait, why can't I afford it? Oh, because it's in. Wait, what? What did I do? Thanks for the future gift, yeah. I messed something up. For some reason, this built before my fuel turbine, even though I had it prioritized. Oh, it's a bug. Oh, that's unfortunate. It's okay, though. Nice. They're an experimental fixed already. Welcome, Jax. How's it going? This makes me so sad. I just gotta wait until I get enough minerals now. If I'm understanding your question correct, Wolfenstein, we still have our Titan Tuesday coming up June 1st. And then we'll have our Steam release on June 21st. So there won't be an update with the release, but we still do have our Titan Tuesday planned for June. Andy and Jared, are you guys still here?
No.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
System Shock says, do you ever want to make a mistake on stream and then blame the devs just to see if you can provoke a reaction?
Oh, I mean, yeah, every time something goes wrong, I'm like, damn you, Andy. This is all your fault.
Not just in the game. Yeah, not just in the game.
Not just in the game, just anytime anything ever goes wrong. This is somehow Andy's fault.
Because Andy's in control.
Oh, that's why I didn't have any more minerals. It's because there's minerals here already. Interesting.
Andy, I also wanted to ask about the challenges of the many different like overlays and things that needs to be signified. Yeah, since there's so many systems in the game, and how to like visually show that in the different geographic space.
Well, one of the recent changes that we did was there are several instances in the game where we can safely assume specific overlays that the player needs to see. And I think that's one of the best quality of life improvements that we did recently. And it's super subtle, and and I think players who um without it would notice that it's gone, but once you have it, it's just kind of normal. And so, for example, like if you're trying to build a fuel build related building in the city view, you like the fuel fabricator building, you need to know where your sources of ethane are. And so we have, like, if you don't know that, then you can't strategically place it, but you also have to know where your valid build locations are. So that's like an overlap of two different overlays, which you otherwise wouldn't be able to enable. Oh, you can't mix and match overlays currently. And I don't think you ever will be able to. So we have to, like, we made this custom combination for that specific instance. Same with like if you wanted to build a pylon, you need to know where you can build it, plus where your energy grid is. This situation doesn't occur in interior views as much, because in the interior view, there's no concept of like claimed tiles and whatnot. So it's the overlays are mostly for like the city view, where you kind of have to see all this information. It's been pretty hard, and I think like you can't have there are some games which are able to do this, but in Titan you can't have a power grid and or here's a better example. You can't have your pollution overlay and your zethane overlay at the same time, because they both are gases that occupy the same space. It would be very difficult to kind of like blend the two colors of them to kind of make something that you can just read, kind of be able to understand. So I think we just had to make a decision that, like, we're gonna have these overlays and they're exclusive to each other, except for these specific instances. And I don't think it's gonna be the last of our overlays either. When we added the population simulation, we added the population overlay, and that's there to communicate like commute distance between the citizen and the job, because like the citizens will only travel to jobs that are within range of them. And also it also communicates like population density to show you like which buildings have citizens in them and which don't, and also the attractiveness of those buildings. So it's like if you have a building with it in range of a smokestack and one that's not, your citizens will choose to live in the nicer area. And then also same with jobs too, is like they choose the jobs that they prefer the most. So there's a lot of information to have in a single overlay.
Got another question from Twitch. Sorry if you answered this before, but will the Steam variant be the same version as on Epic, or will it lag behind in updates?
It'll be 100% the same. We've already developed our build deployment pipeline to be able to deploy on both. I think if you wanted to like get really into the nitty gritty, the way you see the achievements is different, I guess. Like, because in Steam it's like Shift F1, and in Steam it's like Shift Tab to see. But they're the exact same achievements. And on Steam, Steam specific features will only be on Steam. But that's not because we want to prefer one platform or another. It's just like if only Steam has trading cards, then we can't put them on Epic.
And there will be trading cards.
Yeah, it's something that we're currently working on.
Yep. They look pretty neat. Okay, I think I finally sorted out my mineral issue. I think the only thing with the auto currency is I just don't pay attention. And so as I was looking at this fuel turbine being built, I realized it was being built with like 20 plus tier 2 minerals instead of just 8 tier 3s. So I had to cancel everything and wait for them to clear everything out. But we got things going again, and look, we're back on track. Easy peasy. System Shock. I am joined by Jared and Andy.
Oh, you're playing last Titan Tuesday's build because there's some cool features that we got coming up in this month that I think make the game a lot more enjoyable.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I just decided today to play on our main build. But we do have quite a lot of cool updates on our experimental build right now, including a lot of the new VO, I think, in the dynamic tutorial.
Yeah, I think next Monday is when we typically preview the content for the following Titan Tuesday. So if you're curious to see what's coming, then check that one out too. Next Monday, 1 p.m. PST.
Yes.
Yep.
Not correct. Yeah, so there'll be more Industries of Titan on next Monday, talking about the next update.
I cannot for the life of me remember how System Shock did this, and I'm trying to remember.
I know System Shock has a video about tips for playing Industries of Titan. Is there going to be a video? I have not watched it yet, but does it include stuff about efficient factories, or is that going to be a whole separate tutorial? And for the folks from Steam who may not be familiar with the update cadence, the update schedule, so far during early access, and this will be continuing, there's a major update every single month. We clearly outline what is going to be coming up in the future months, as well as what's future planned beyond that, and let everyone know what new features are included in each of those monthly updates.
I don't actually think I need this many.
And hello, Giraffosaur. There's a lot to pay attention to. That is correct. Yeah, if you've got the best in System Shock says it's his video seemed to do well. He'd love to do more tutorial kind of videos. And yeah, I'm sure if you have more tutorial videos and those are the best tutorials, then they will do okay when the game comes out on Steam.
Okay, what can I do for this? I need... put the employee ones up here.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack so much.
Oh, me too.
Vibing.
It's so good. Output.
Something that in the next update that is a small quality of life improvement is the UI on the connection here. So there's like a little socket plug icon, and right now it draws underneath the processor, and it'll in the future draw on top. So you can, and the reason for this is because it'll actually have state changes now. So if you connect the plug to something that it shouldn't connect to, it'll be a certain color. If you connect it, if it's not connected to anything, it'll be a different color, like red. And if you do connect it correctly to a processor, it'll be green. And this is because the connection system is totally unique to the processor thing, and I think it might throw some players for a loop when they first get it. The tutorial does specifically say to attach them, but I think the UI, a good UI, should be as intuitive as possible that people can figure out how to do it without being told. And the reason why we went this route for the processors to have them be modular like this is specifically to future-proof us for the full design. So when we originally designed the processor gameplay, the sort of like the complexity of it is a bit much larger. I would say maybe like we implemented about 30% of the original vision. And so in some future updates, we will revisit the processor and add in the elements that we think will make it even more interesting. It's related to the artifacts on Titan and what we have always intended the artifacts to be used for. Right now, their artifacts are kind of limited to being a currency, and they're actually meant to be a source of new technology for the player because they come from the ancient civilization, which was much more advanced than ours. So once we give the player the ability to decipher the technology within the artifact, it'll change how you can modify your processors and what you can do with them. And I think that'll have implications on kind of every playthrough. So we're looking forward to adding that one sooner rather than later. Although, you know, people who've like followed the game, there's a lot of systems in the game in general that you know, I've talked about the long-term vision of where we want to take them. Things like the citizen population currently doesn't have happiness, and that's something we want to add, including ways to remedy that and whatnot, ways to improve the citizens' health, and also like with combat and whatnot. So it's just a big game in general.
Hunter says, "Ooh, kind of, sort of like Factorio's science packs."
Well, I think it's a little too. It's probably better to make sure we're further along in development before I commit to anything specific. But the design that we have is not necessarily based on Factorio. It's actually based more on I don't even know if I want to say it.
You don't have
Like,
to say it.
You don't have to say
Yeah.
anything you don't want
I think it's more based off of games that have like more replayability, so you could find like. I'm not saying that Factorio doesn't have replayability. I just mean like the whole point of the system is to actually give you more of like creative variation. So like when you right now what happens is like players who have played for a long time, they have a comfortable strategy that they fall towards, like a certain build pattern or build order,
Yeah.
and this will break that up significantly.
Maybe variants? More variants?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What do I usually do for one of these? Because I still have like 2 slots on each of my level 2 processors. What did I do? Oh, I still have a space here too. I'll figure it out eventually. But that should kick my refining into gear, I hope. And then my next step is I would like to build some residences in some populations so I can start getting more citizens, making more credits, getting more employees. And then I'll probably get attacked by Bahar. Oh yeah, next week is already June. That's crazy.
Ugh.
Tell me
Gosh.
about it.
Wow.
I can build a residence here already.
Larry, what were you referring to specifically about the next update? Yeah. Every time it goes to nighttime, I am very impressed by the lights. The city lights
too.
look great.
I love the way the HQ looks.
I think my personal favorite is the residential buildings.
Do I not have someone working this patch?
Okay, yeah. So that's what I wasn't sure whether Kylari was asking about. They say they were asking about, or they were saying the making each run more unique aspects of artifacts. I think that's long in the future, right, Andy? Like not any specific timeline.
Yeah, it's hard to say because what we're trying to strike a balance between, and we've done this in our early access the last during our epic phase, was we have our internal design goals and prioritizations. So like we know exactly what is important to get us closer to the vision of the game, and at the same time we also care a lot about what players want. And so I think it was we had been like when we first launched on Epic, we started doing a lot of combat related um, features because combat is so integral to how conflicts are resolved on Titan, and plus for when you have rival corporations and whatnot. But after having done it for 3 months, we pulled the users and asked, or like the players, and asked them if they what kind of updates they were looking forward to, and the polls had shown that they really wanted to see city building. And so we started doing more city. So we started adding more buildings and whatnot. And then we would do another poll asking if they cared more about like quality of life improvements versus features. And the reason why this question is important to me is because um, as you add more content to a game, you're like building on top of this like house of cards, and not in terms of like fragility, but like it's not like something that's kind of like you're just like you're like bolting onto this beast, right? And at some point it can start to feel like there's rough edges around the usability of it. And so with the quality of life updates, it allowed us to take time to kind of like um, blend the new features better into the gameplay like flow, and also add more like improve the UI and address like usability concerns and stuff. And so players had voted for quality of life for like many months, and what that was communicating to us was they were satisfied with the quantity of features, but they were unsatisfied with how easy it was to kind of use them. So we did that for 2 months, I think, and then at that point, players were really satisfied with the sort of the ease of use of the game, and then started requesting features again. So I really like using this as a model because we want to make sure that we're satisfying players as much as we can, because we're developing this, but we're also only able to develop this game because we have players who love the game, who love playing the game. So I think I would rate sort of the artifact technology and what's the other thing we have in the pipeline? Oh, I can't talk about that one yet. So yeah, like the artifact technology is like, I would say that's earlier in our vision, like our roadmap. But then it all really depends on like how players respond to what is already there and what they are asking for.
All right, I have decided what I'm putting there.
This is a pretty efficient factory, it looks like.
I hope so. I think I'm getting blocked because my employees aren't picking up the output one, so I'm just gonna put more outputs. But I also just don't have any employees, but I also don't want... I'm very hesitant to use my tier 2 minerals instead of getting the tier 3s to build these residences.
Hunter has some fun update title suggestions. He says update 14 time flies. Just kidding. Is it update 14 already? That's how, yeah, it's crazy how many updates there's been. Not 14 yet, but close.
Yeah, I think our next one's going to be update 12. So we'll have done a full year of monthly updates, which is pretty crazy. Okay, you know what? We're just going to put you guys up at the top.
Also, update 22 artifact of the matter. These are not real updates, so don't clip this and
Yeah,
save it for later.
this worker window here is actually was no easy task, and it was one of the quality of life updates that we did. One of the first ones. So originally you had the ability to kind of like observe um, how your workers would be doing jobs, and that was kind of it. And so with the new worker management system panel that we did like 6 months ago, you can now change the priority of how jobs are done, and also dedicate a certain minimum amount of workers to any category, and even create new folders and group folders and move folders around and rename them and stuff. Um, so like the the fun thing about that was like, because we allowed you to create folders and move them around, I observed that one of our more prominent streamers, System Chalk, created a new folder for processing, which contained elements of like several different folders, and then moved that in a specific order. And then as he explained why he did it in that way, I realized it made more logical sense. So his worker order is now the default worker order in the game, including the folder organization.
The processing, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's stuff like that that like the game technically worked without it. It didn't. It was just kind of like much harder to play through and enjoy. So we do love quality of life updates. They're just not brand new. When I say features, I mean like systems features. Whereas I think like there are a bunch of players who want new systems related features, as do we.
All right, I got it. Build.
Systems features, says System Chalk. I'm sure System Chalk has great features. And Hunter suggests update 15 D Vice City.
Honestly, I might make my next city Dev City. And then all of the employees can just be BYG team members.
Just like real life.
Just like real life. Except I'm the boss now.
The first one is named Ryan.
Uh-huh. I take no satisfaction in converting you, I promise. Okay, we're putting construct there. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people who are able to play this a lot faster than I do, but I'm also trying to keep an eye on chat and playing this, so our startup is a little bit slow, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I think I saw a screenshot of someone who rushed ships really quickly and was able to beat a normal game in like 7 hours.
Wow.
Like real time hours. It still took them like 25 simulation hours to do.
Wow.
But and then at the same time, I think I saw someone else the other day have like 30 some hours in a game. So it really depends. But also because Fog of War is new, the rushing tactics are like a newer thing, and so what I had done is I had looked at the rebel defenses in the early game to see how they were tuned, and they were actually doing less DPS than they should have. So that tactic might not be as viable anymore, but we'll see.
That's really impressive still, though.
Yeah.
Need more artifacts.
Most of the times when I see screenshots of people's victory screen, it's on normal mode, and I'm more curious to see how people play on the harder difficulties, but I rarely see people do that.
Me too. I am definitely a Zen player myself, so
Gane asks if it's normal for the game to lose performance in the late game with lots of buildings. It's not. It's common. It's definitely not what we want to be normal, for sure. I think in the last 3 months we've slowed down how aggressive we are with simulation features and graphics features because we really care about improving the performance. And so we've been making like improvements gains at every single month. And I think this most recent Titan Tuesday actually addresses the last known memory related issue that we have, which should help performance, but also along while we were trying to figure out how to improve the performance in terms of like there was a bug with like a certain time of day and rain occurring and stuff. Like we've addressed those issues too, but then like in terms of just like the scale of the city, I think it's gonna happen just if the player tries to break it, even if because you could have every single tile be a level 3 building, and inside of each of those level 3 buildings, every floor has its like own ecosystem, and then you could build a bunch of like ships and then have those ships fly around and each have their own ecosystem. So the game's kind of like in terms of just simulation, like it can potentially be a beast, and we'll do our best to make sure that you can achieve those things. But I think it's going to always be limited by hardware to some degree. Right now we're trying to avoid approximations. So like if you have let's say you had like 30 ships or something, I think it would be unfair to the player to like, in order to make performance high, to like no longer simulate those things. So we're currently avoiding that and trying to improve things like in job management and like pathfinding and whatnot. And then we actually have a pending improvement that we want to do on pathfinding, which should improve things a lot. But the problem with that one is like it's a really huge system, and we're worried that if we kind of implement the things that we have in mind for pathfinding right now, that we might actually introduce some bugs. So we want to take our time with that one and make sure that it's good first. But I guess the other thing that's like more self-serving is one of the reasons why we care a lot about optimization too, is that we ultimately, our goal is to have a game where like maps can be bigger, and in order for us to even consider having bigger maps, we have to have the game work well on the existing map size.
Hunter says that going back to what you were talking about with victory and how long it takes, they said, I think my turret annexation victories all took 10 to 15 real-time hours. Titan standard, Titan normal difficulty.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really helpful data. We unfortunately right now don't have like metrics. I think because of like user licensing related legal reasons, we can't like just grab metrics. But from a design perspective, it'd be much more awesome to like be able to see the kind of play times and the types of buildings that get played more than others, just to help with balance and whatnot.
Hunter asks, is the max map still currently 64 by 64 tiles?
Yes, it's still this. And I've seen screenshots recently of like someone who had what appeared to be like 70% of every tile occupied with the building, and they were saying that their frame rate was like totally tanked, which is like totally understandable. Because like well, one, their hardware wasn't like, it was like average-ish or like slightly below average. But also like it depending on it's not so much that like the game can't handle a lot of buildings. It's the fact that within each building you have a potential smaller universe that has 3 floors and each of those floors is like an individual simulation too. So it's just potentially a lot, and it's something that we want to improve in early access. And I don't think performance should affect people for until they get to those kind of cities.
Yeah, especially with the that evening issue seemingly resolved.
Yeah, we definitely like have any performance issue that's affecting users in like through normal gameplay, we will absolutely prioritize and we care about. It's just the situations where like I think like even in a regular like in any regular game, if you spawn like in Skyrim, if you spawn like 1,000 watermelons or whatever, it's gonna make the game tank. So that's
Yeah.
just for us. We instead of saying like you can only have 16 by 16, and if we forced a 16 by 16 map, you would like absolutely have no performance problems. Instead, we said you can have this is kind of like a pretty biggish map, and if you have the hardware for it, knock yourself out. And so we felt like it would be better to just kind of let players play that way.
I like how that was the first example that you came up with, is spawning 1,000 watermelons in Skyrim.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's like it's like cheese wheels or watermelons or something.
Cheese wheels, probably.
People like cheese wheels.
Or the sweet rolls.
I remember when I was younger and I played like custom StarCraft maps, I would spawn thousands of units, and
Wait a second.
we're always going to be pushing the edge of technology with our games, and we just kind of let you push pretty hard on ours.
Oh shoot, my battery's tanking because my office went live. I forgot that it takes up a lot of battery. Ah! This always happens. But I guess that's what the game is it's always a balance, a push and pull in one direction or another. Let's see.
Itagain. Yeah, let me know how I should pronounce that. But they suggest some sort of user metric add-on that users could opt into. They think that most of us would love to help you out with 2 extra clicks.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's just we are pushing like all of our developers to the max, and we want to we're not crunching or anything, but like we're making sure that we're utilizing our time well. And currently when it comes to like implementing tool systems, what we've been focusing on internally is like build deployment systems for Steam and Epic, and like automated testing so we could test on different hardware with each build, stuff like that. So I think there will come a time when we have the bandwidth to get some metrics to make the game better, because that's always fun, and I love working with metrics too.
The Hunter says they're thinking maybe a player survey, perhaps they didn't say this, but perhaps like outside of the game we could post it on the Discord. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I think we've done some polls on Twitter, and I always like the information from that. So if surveys would be great too, and like you could do surveys through Steam forums and whatnot as well.
Mm-hmm.
Perfity says, the Master Warcraft 3 line defense strat. You reduce graphics to minimum, start B8 players, and spawn up just 1 billion sheep. And then you never send them to the enemy, and you just watch your opponent's DC one at a time. That is the Master strat. Okay, now that I've got a bunch of these processors up and running, this one is just going to be solely for minerals because I have quite a few tier 3 isotopes already. And then I just need to build another power plant. Soon.
Andy, so what kind of gameplay do you think will do well in the timed contract mode for people who are trying to get to the top of the leaderboards?
So the way you're measured, or the way you generate your score in that mode, is based off of what we call net worth, and it's sort of like a sum of all your assets minus your liabilities. So assets would be your citizen count, worker count, the value of all your buildings and devices, your stored resources, stored energy, fuel, um, influence and credits and whatnot, obviously, currencies, like stored currencies, minus liabilities, which is like the amount of pollution in the tiles that you own, the waste that you're generating, the debt that you owe in terms of salary. So to get the highest score, it would be like, you know, if you're spending time eliminating waste, you are generating, you are improving your net worth, even if the infrastructure is expensive, because the infrastructure has like innate value, or it has value as an asset. The smoke, all the smokestacks and whatnot has value. So don't hoard waste. I mean, I don't want to say don't hoard waste because like you might find a better strategy to hoard waste and focus on something else. But like, you know, just typical asset growth. And another thing that adds into net worth is your the time that you're putting into things. So like because like, you know, if you have, let's say you have a building that's worth like 100 minerals, that building isn't just worth 100 minerals, it's worth how much time it took for you to build the building, plus the fact that it's worth 100 minerals and anything else that it provides you, right? So like constantly accrue resources and constantly construct stuff. Like, so not just hoarding things, but like spending all your time, getting all your resources.
Yeah.
And and also you are bonused for the elimination of rebels. So the council gives you influence for every rebel that you destroy. And in the new patch, the one upcoming in Titan Tuesday, is you will you will increase your influence cap for destroying rebel buildings. So right now you will be capped at 100 influence, and if you want to increase past 100 influence max, you will have to destroy rebels, and you'll get I think 50 influence max increase per rebel camp that you destroy. So being aggressive about destroying the rebels will also increase your net worth, but then also making sure you don't lose a lot of resources in the process.
Mhm.
Keep in mind when you lose buildings from rebel attacks, you are left with rubble behind after your building is destroyed. That rubble only represents a fraction of what the building used to cost, and also a ton of waste. So you lose a significant amount of net worth for having lost the building, having generated waste, and also losing the resources that went into the building.
Rebel, rebel. I love the look of the overlay here.
Yeah.
The neon lights.
It reminds me of Tron.
It's very Tron, yeah.
System Shock said, and I guess if your marginal salaries are too high, the strategy from the last stream of self-destructing workers might be a good deal in cost savings.
I felt so awful after that. That was fun. That was a good experiment that we did on stream. Okay, so
Yeah, it really does look great. Like a glowing blue line. Oh, it's a fun question. Do you think one could use net worth as a value function for training a deep neural net to play the game somewhat well?
Yes, I think so. If you like, if you knew how to program machine learning, I'm sure you could. Because like I mean, for the the game doesn't fully expose it, but it is exposed to the developers. Like we can see how the net worth grows and decreases in real time. So like if you had the access to that, you could in theory program like a machine learning algorithm to just like play the game randomly and then like track what actions make it go up and down and then compare it to previous plays and whatnot. I'm pretty sure Google could totally do this. For sure.
Ah, they say that I'm in the last semester of my AI bachelor. They'd love to try. Yeah. I guess is Industries of Titan a solved game after machine learning?
I think that it will become more difficult to solve with our future updates that we have planned.
Mm,
Because that's well, like had mentioned before, something that I think will benefit the game greatly is adding more variation in between each playthrough, and that comes in the form of like sort of like unexpected or like things that you can't really plan for with each playthrough that are like will happen unexpectedly. And I think that's not necessarily like it is technically random, but it's not like we're not making it so that you don't have control over your own fate. It's more when you play a game like a deck builder like Slay the Spire, uh every playthrough you don't know like the kind of things you're going to discover, the kind of cards that you're going to unlock. And so we have plans for I like ways to have more of that kind of stuff in the game, and that'll make it so even though you right now you kind of build like these perfectly crafted factory floors that are optimized for a specific function, that may change completely when the options for the devices that you can build are different, and you'll have to kind of improvise with each playthrough how you want to lay out your floor because you're going to have different options every time.
this bug, did I do something wrong? I upgraded my command center to level 2, which shut off a lot of things here. But then it finished upgrading, and now I have no power and fuel. This outside command center range. Yeah, this didn't give me back my command center.
Does it take more? Does it require more power than you have though? Oh, okay. So this is technically like a loop that you had working, but you broke the loop and now it can't re-loop. So
Uh-oh.
the fuel generator that was providing the fuel for your generators to work was outside of the command area that you controlled. And
Yes.
so because your command center was up, that fuel turbine was able to generate the fuel to power the command center that was keeping it up. Now that that fuel turbine is out and down, it can't generate that fuel, so that command center doesn't get the energy it needs. So you need to close the loop.
There we go.
Okay, so now that everything is back up, you can now reopen it.
I see. Okay. That was spooky. I was like, oh no, my entire city just shut down.
That's super tricky. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like a way. I don't know how to have communicated that without like deeply understanding the game system.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you point it out, but I was just like, oh no, panic mode. Hunter's saying that's happened to him before too, yeah. Did this even... Oh yeah, it is level 2. Okay, I would like to build some smokestacks now.
It does mean your system's kind of fragile.
Yeah, I can't reach any of the fuel sources, the zethane sources, in my normal command area. I think even if I upgrade it one more time, it'll reach to like here, maybe?
Do you have a lot of like backup fuel?
Not yet. I definitely should be building some fuel tanks. But I want to start dealing with my waste now.
Yeah,
And I want
think
to
like
build that as far away from here as possible.
Stored energies and fuels give you a lot of buffer for like those weird edge cases.
Yeah. Okay, so I have no more vacant living space, but I have 15 vacant jobs. Hmm. We'll probably stop pretty soon, in like in around 10 minutes. Get to the 3 o'clock mark here.
Yeah, so if you've got any remaining questions, you can drop them in chat. You can always contact us at any of our channels. Oh, also, we've cleaned up or made the Industries of Titan subreddit look a bit better. So yeah.
Yeah, join us on there.
Yeah.
What is the best faction that hasn't been announced yet? The redacted one. For sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll also be streaming next week because there'll be another Titan Tuesday, another early access major update next week.
The gamer
Danny's
faction, yeah.
The gamer faction.
Always.
Get that bread faction. I gotta build up your assets, reduce your liabilities, get as much net worth as possible, and top the leaderboards. Oh, okay. I see a question that hasn't shown up on my chat screen yet, but
Just asking, how big is the Steam achievements list, and how much will expand across development?
I've thought so. It's on. The achievements are live, so let's see. So it's not. I can pull up the exact number here. So we have 84 right now, and I would say maybe 60% of those 84 are what we call like progressive or meta achievements. So it's like as you play the game, you're earning progress towards like these lifetime goals, and those are meant to be kind of like long-term for rewarding long-term players. And then we have specific achievements that like challenge you to play in certain ways, and or for Easter eggs, or maybe call attention to something that you might not know, like there's an achievement for using one of the features that we added recently. I'm still kind of trying to keep it a surprise but you can like see the feature, you can see the achievement list and like figure this out. So those ones are, we have about 30 of those in total, of like between the tutorial and like unique ways to play and Easter eggs and stuff like that. And I think what we're gonna do is probably go a few updates first. So I would say no less than 6 updates, so that we can get enough systems additional systems in the game, so that we can add meaningful achievements to those. So it'll probably come in cycles where it's like several months, and then like retroactively add achievements to the systems that we had added and then repeat. But most likely not gonna add any more of the progressive achievements, because like there's like a lot of those in the game already. It's things like generate this amount of credits in your lifetime, so you can see like, oh, I finally hit like the 1 million credit mark or something like that.
Oh no, it happened again. Oh yeah, I just cannot upgrade anything over there without just destroying my entire city. There we go, we're back online.
That's quite a few achievements, Andy. Sounds pretty robust.
Yeah, Hunter has a good point. It's like something that was when we developed the achievement system for this first pass, we had to be really conservative about it, because as a game that changes over time, the meaning of these achievements can change sort of just by proxy. If suddenly we decide that artifacts are meant to be like more frequent, that it entirely changes the work that gets put into those progress achievements, and it makes it really challenging. So there was actually a bunch of really cool ideas that we had to cut. The team started brainstorming achievements to put in the game, and I would say like upwards to half of them, we had to say like, this works now and it's really cool in our current version of the game, but I can see this being invalidated in several months once we add feature XYZ or whatever.
Yeah.
And so
it's a tough balance to strike.
Yeah. It's one of the fun challenges of being a game in development that I enjoy. Is like we're striking the balance between creating something versus creating like a service in a sense. So it's like, because we're live and we act completely different as a live product than an internal one.
Yeah. Oh, finally got Bahar's attention. Yeah, so like with the way that the aggression levels of the rebels work right now, it took me about 2 hours to get their attention, which is pretty good. Hi Bahar, notice me senpai.
Also, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll only get attacked every 2 hours. The first initial wave takes a little bit longer, because the early game is a lot of potentially players getting their bearings as to like all the systems that need to set up first. And then once you've caught the rebels' attention, then subsequent attacks start occurring faster and faster. Also, in the next update, now you would be attacked right now, as opposed to what's happening is you're getting attacked in 44 minutes. And the reason we added that time in the current version is because players would often get caught off guard and then need to respond by building something, and they needed enough time to actually build like a shipyard or something, and that takes a lot of time. So in the next update, you'll have so much awareness as to when you're going to get attacked that it should be building your defenses should be worked into your process, and that'll increase the sort of the tension that you have with the rebels. It'll make more sense in a week. Check out next week's stream.
Yeah, it looks cool. The UI is neat for it. But yeah, I think this might be a good place to start wrapping up. Thank you all for joining us today. It was a really exciting day for us. We'll have a lot of news over the course of the next few weeks including like a new dev walkthrough. We'll have like a recap of our early access journey so far, as well as like some other cinematic and trailers. So look forward to that. And you can always talk to us in Discord. We're always on Reddit. We're also on the Steam forums. So hit us up to chat whenever. We love it. Any last words, Andy and Jared?
No, but thanks for joining us, and I can't wait to finally get on Steam and share the game with even more people. And I really hope that we can continue to have this like ongoing relationship with the players, and valuable people who play the game and give us their feedback, like Hunter, System Shock, and everyone here in the stream, Kyleria, everyone. Just we remember people for helping us because it's very important to us, and we always do our best to listen. So please, if you're interested in following the development, continue with us on this journey, and we'll keep trying to make Titan as good as we can. We definitely have a lot that we have planned still, so I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, we love you guys.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say thanks to all the people who have already purchased in early access on Epic, and have given all that feedback, just like Andy said. It's been a big part, as you've heard Andy talk about all throughout today. Listening and just doing what the players what the players want to see, and it's a big part of development. So yeah, we can keep on doing that with even more people after we all welcome them once we go to Steam.
Yep. All right. Thanks for dropping in, you guys. We will see you next week for our 12th Titan Tuesday. We're going to play the trailer to see ourselves out. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.